You want that? Good morning, everyone. I'm Bill George, Chair of the Ontario Fruit and Vegetable Growers Association. We represent 3,500 farm families in the province. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. I've been asked to make some introductory comments prior to the main announcement, so I'll move forward with that. With me, we have a small group of individuals to support this announcement. Obviously, the Honourable Minister Ernie Hardeman of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs, Keith Currie, President, Ontario Federation of Agriculture, and George Galvezi, Chair of the Ontario Greenhouse Growers Association. As well, I would like to thank our hosts, the Masternardi Produce family, for hosting us in this lovely facility. It truly is remarkable how nice this facility is. Since the beginning of the pandemic, farmers have been working hard to ensure the safety of essential farm workers. These efforts have been paramount to being able to continue essential farm operations and keeping local food available to the consumers this year. While farmers have worked quickly to adapt to the pandemic, the sector has faced unique challenges with respect to outbreaks among workers. To address these challenges, industry associations have been working closely with government to support farm employers as they protect their workers. This collaboration is crucial as we further our understanding for how to prevent COVID outbreaks on farms. I would like to thank the government for supporting the sector in this regard. I would now like to invite the Minister Hardeman, to come forward to speak to the issue further and the efforts being made to further protect the health and safety of the farm workers moving forward. So, Minister Hardeman, thank you. Please go forward.
Thank you very much, Bill, for the kind introduction. And hello, everyone. Before I begin, I want to thank Masternardi Farm Produce for hosting us here today in this beautiful facility. I also want to thank Keith Currie from the OFA, Bill George from the OFVGA, and George Galvezi, a neighbor of mine, from the OGVG. For being part of this important announcement. I also want to commend the farmers, the farm workers for their hard work navigating this difficult season and tackling challenges they never encountered before. Our government recognizes the agri-food heroes who contributed so much to our efforts to feed the province. We want to continue to support and protect them in any way that we can. And we looked ahead to the 2021 growing season. We want to take what we have learned and prepare so we can do more to protect our agri-food workers. So I've assembled an agri-food organization along with my ministry, the Ministry of Health, and the Ministry of Labour, Training, Skills and Development in a great spirit of collaboration. Together, we worked on sharing information and develop a thorough, thoughtful strategy that will go a long way to prevent and control outbreaks over the next year's growing season. Today, we are proud to launch this strategy based on industry's and government's extensive experience and lessons learned over the last 6 months. I greatly appreciate the contributions and expertise leaders and their organizations have brought to the table. We have worked very hard together to develop the strategy, and I'm grateful to be a partner with all of them in delivering on these actions. We have made good progress, but over the next several months leading up to the planting and growing season, we need to sustain our communications with and support to farmers and the agri-food businesses to make sure they are well informed and well prepared on the best practices for worker safety. The sector's hard work, sound advice, and the solutions they have identified in the strategy will go a long way to better protecting agri-food workers while maintaining the strength of the agri-sector and our food supply. With that, I will turn it over to Keith Currie, President of the Ontario Federation of Agriculture, to say a few words. Keith?
Thanks very much, Minister. And as we've all learned through the past 6 months, COVID has no known boundaries other than everywhere. We look forward as members of agriculture production to be continuing to produce safe, sound food for all of our Ontarians, and that includes having a very strong workforce behind us to do so. Having the Government of Ontario behind us to support us as we move forward in the 2021 growing season is very key to making sure we maintain that production and that security, that food security for Ontarians to know that they can continue to buy good quality Ontario products each and every day as they approach their grocery stores. So we'd like to take this time to say thank you to the Government of Ontario and to Minister Hardeman for leading this challenge and for helping us to secure those measures that ensure our workers are safe and able to produce that good quality food that we just talked about. I appreciate the efforts that the Minister has done over the last 6 months, and we look forward to continuing to work alongside of Bill and George and their organizations and the Minister's office to continue that practice of ensuring safety for all of our production, including our workers. So thank you very much, Minister. I appreciate everything that you've done, and I understand there are some questions, so I'll turn it back over to you for the question and answer. Thank you.
Oops. Well, thank you, Keith. And now I would like to invite Keith, Bill George from the OFVGA, and George Gilvesi of the OGVG to join me in signing this document to show our collective support for the strategy, including its guiding principles and the recommended actions for farmers and farm workers, agri-food industry, and the government partners to improve health, labor, and emergency management. So where's there's the document over here. Thank you. And now we will open the floor to questions from the media. And this, of course, is the document that we just signed. So with that, we'll open the floor for questions.
Questions from the floor first.
Yes, Minister, good morning. The initiatives inside your plan, were they derived from what happened here in Ground Zero?
Well, I think this is when the pandemic hit a number of months ago. We realized, particularly when it came into the greenhouse industry in Windsor-Essex, but not only in Windsor-Essex, we had challenges in Norfolk, we had challenges in Niagara, and in the Holland Marsh. So we put together a table of advisors of all the sector, the leaders of the sectors and all their staff, working together to come up with a strategy that not only we could deal with now, but to make sure we look forward as to how we could do better going forward if we should have any more outbreaks. And obviously, this is the end of that process, working with the ministries, working with the whole sector in its entirety. This is what we came up with. That's why it's so important that we're here today to talk about signing the document that we all agree that this is the way to move forward to make sure we do everything we can to protect our workers and, conversely, to protect the industry.
Follow up?
What did you learn from Essex County?
What's that?
What things did you learn from Essex County that you threw into your initiative?
Well, I think the important part is that we have experienced the challenges that we faced. We've done a lot of things working with the ministry, working with the industry to do the best we can to keep to have our workers make sure they are safe and then to keep them safe. The protocols that we put in place are now going to be codified. This is the best way that we can move forward to make sure that we have a safe workforce and a workforce that can be continually working rather than having to be isolated because they were caught in the COVID.
We'll open up the phone lines to questions on the phone line, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, should you have any questions, please press *1. Your first question comes from Katerina Georgieva with CBC Windsor. Please go ahead.
Hi there. I'm wondering about how this agreement and how this strategy is going to address housing on farms, because we know that congregate living was a key factor in the spread this year. So what exactly will we see where that's concerned?
Well, I think that's a very important question, and thank you very much, because obviously we saw that a lot of the housing that we presently have and have had for years is fine until you have a pandemic where you have to isolate people, and we have to have something different. Obviously, the approvals for the housing is a federal issue. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't all be collectively looking at how we can improve the housing stock and put the controls in place to make sure that we do everything we can to prevent this from happening again. This plan has a section in it to actually work together with the government helping, of course, with the setting the standards and the sector coming forward in building the standards to make sure that we keep our workers safe. That's why we have two programs already. We have a program for the PPE support for $26.5 million, and we have a program now to help even further with structural changes that need to be made so we can make sure that going forward in the 2021 season, we have a considerably better risk ratio than we had going into the year 2000 when the pandemic started.
Follow-up?
Yeah, I also wanted to ask you about proactive testing that's listed as one of the key things key goals of this strategy. We already know that there is some testing happening on farms. I'm wondering, will there be new requirements, or will workers have to be tested before they start certain shifts? Is it going to be different than what we saw this year, where we did see some testing on farms? Will there be more of that?
Well, I think one of the things, and again, thank you for the question. That was one of the things we realized immediately when the pandemic started and the outbreak started in this industry, in this sector. We realized that there was a challenge on getting people tested. And the answer, in my mind, is the more we can test, the sooner we can test, the smaller the outbreak will be if there is one. And I think at the time, we put together a package to get messages out to particularly the workers in their language, to put a package together of what services were available, how they should go about getting assistance if they needed it, where they would go to get tested and so forth. Get that message out. Put it in a package, making sure that no worker is concerned that if they test positive, that somehow, and I heard stories like this before, if we test positive, we will be deported. If we test positive, we won't get paid. All those questions were answered. Yes, they will get paid. Yes, you will keep your job. And we want to make sure everybody understands that going in. We want to make sure that we set up a protocol to make sure that the authorities who are dealing with the pandemic have a way of dealing directly with the people who are involved, the workers, not only the management, but the workers too. And so I think that's really what it's all about. We don't think it's whether they want to get tested. They need to know the need to get tested. And I think that's really what the protocol is about, to make sure we get that message out for your own safety, for everyone's safety. Get tested. And I think that's what we will see out of this protocol.
Next question.
Your next question comes from Christy Lee Varley with AM 800. Please go ahead.
Good morning. I'm just wondering, the $15 million through the Enhanced Agri-Food Workplace Protection Program, is that new money or is this previously announced money?
The money that the $15 million is new money, and the federal government has also come forward to add to that fund. So that's the fund that's now $26 million to help with the PPE going forward. So that was new money for both the federal and provincial government.
Are there any more questions?
May I have a follow-up?
Follow-up?
Chrissy, yeah, please go ahead with your follow-up.
Okay. So one of the things that it mentions, the funding is for farm businesses for purchasing medical testing equipment. So this will be something that they can have specific on site? Or is it like a rapid testing, or can you describe what the medical testing equipment would be?
I'm not a doctor, so I don't know exactly what the equipment would be, but the fund that we have in the budget, the $25.5 million, is in fact for people to buy the screening equipment to make sure that the people are safe, not to do the testing, but to make sure that the screening that's being done going in and out and what needs to make sure that everybody is safe, as safe as could be without having everybody tested every day. As it was here, I had my temperature taken because here we are, and we want to make sure that we have the risk as low as possible. That's the type of thing that we want to help the producers and the processors, help them, making sure they have that in place to do everything we can to avoid it from happening.
Should you have any questions, please press star 1. Your next question comes from Max Martin with London Free Press. Please go ahead.
Hi, Minister. Just in regards to the strategy that everyone's agreeing to and signing here today, how is this going to be enforced, and how are we going to make sure that farms are following these guidelines to help prevent and control outbreaks and make sure that they are meeting these kind of beefed up standards?
Well, thank you very much, Max, for the question. And I think that's really the importance of this meeting today, is to show not necessarily the whole world, but everybody who's watching, that this isn't just something that the government thinks that should be done. This is something that the whole industry believes is the best way to protect the workers and conversely to protect their industry, because it's our number one priority, of course, is to keep people healthy. But there is no one that has a greater interest in that. Well, I shouldn't say no one. The worker has the greatest industry, but the industry has almost as great an industry, because they cannot harvest their product, they cannot process their product unless they have healthy workers. And so it's in everybody's interest to do everything we can to reduce the risk of having these things happen. And I think this protocol, it was developed by the industry. All I did was call a meeting of all the people together, provided the expertise of our ministry, the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Labor, and put that together with what the industry has experienced at home. We've already seen the outbreaks were much more prevalent at the first of the outbreak than they were going forward, because the protocol was being put in. We didn't run into anybody that wasn't putting that protocol in place, because it's in everyone's best interest. They needed direction, and this protocol will give them that direction.
Follow-up?
Yeah, so just to kind of reiterate, is there an intention to increase the number of inspections that will be happening on farms next year?
Well, I'm afraid I didn't hear the question clearly.
Say the question again, please.
Sorry, will there be an intention to increase the number of inspections that will be happening on farms next year as part of this protocol?
I think the number of inspections have been dramatically increasing all the way through this. I have no, I'm not a doctor. I'm not knowledgeable enough to know how many inspections are required, but we want to make sure that as many as are required will be there, and I can assure you that our government has been handling this regularly by putting in more and more inspections to make sure that everybody is following the protocol. That isn't just in this industry, that's across the workforce in Ontario. I believe that in this industry, the interest of the employers is almost as great as it is in the workers' interest to be safe. So I think if we need more inspections, we would do that, but I think that we will see great cooperation as we're seeing here today, and I look forward to making sure that we prevent it from happening, not dealing with the fallout of it happening.
Next question.
Your next question comes from Katerina Georgieva with CBC Windsor. Please go ahead.
Hi, thanks for taking more questions from me. I just wanted to ask another follow-up on the proactive testing portion of the strategy. You mentioned that you're going to do more to encourage workers to get tested, remind them that this wouldn't be a risk to their employment, that it's important for them to do so. But I feel like they received that same communication this past year. So I'm wondering what is being done to make that communication more effective this time around? Are there any moves to mandate testing on farms, for example?
Well, I think that's a very good question. Again, of the $25.5 million, $1.5 million of that is strictly to deal with the communications part with the workers and the ministry, to make sure that the information they need to know what they can do, where the services are available, what's available, is presented to them in a way that they can read it. Obviously, there's a lot of our workers that do English is not their first language. And so we want to make sure that we do the communications with the workers directly, and also to work with the farmers and the processors to make sure that they get the information out to the workers. And again, I can't emphasize this enough. Everyone's number one interest is to keep the worker safe. With safe workers, we have a productive industry. With sick workers, we don't have an industry at all. So it's in everyone's interest to make sure that the protocols followed, and that's why we work so hard together to make sure that everybody agrees that if we do this, it will be in the best interest of the industry, and I believe it will, and as do the leaders of the industry that are here today.
Follow up.
Yes, I'm just wondering have you been in touch with any migrant worker advocacy groups in the development of this strategy to also address some of the concerns that they have been raising this year?
I personally haven't been in touch with them. I expect that they have been in contact with the ministry. I don't know that. No, I didn't. I personally didn't play a part in the table and the discussions of developing the policy, but I know that we had all the people that understand the industry, the people that have the workers, the workers, and everyone else to come up with a policy that everyone agrees, if we follow this, this is our best shot at eliminating COVID-19 in our agriculture community, particularly in the horticulture.
There are no further questions on the phone line.
One more from the floor.
One more.
I heard on radio this morning vaccine should be available to the general public sometime early next year. So is this too little too late, or do you think it's something that can be used in the future to help prevent whatever else happens? Right?
Planning for the eventualities to keep people safe is never too late. Okay, the one day that would have been better was a year ago today, but the truth is, the best we can come up with today is starting today to move forward to make sure we keep all the workers safe in the province, and I think that this protocol is what's going to take us there. Okay? Well, if that's the end of the questions, I do want to thank you all for taking part this morning, and all the people that are here present in Zoom. I'm standing here, and I've said this about the Zoom meetings and the virtual meetings as opposed to in-person meetings. I have met personally with more people on Zoom in that length of time than I would have if we hadn't had COVID and I had to try to do them all in person. I mean, look at all the pictures there. Every one of you are looking me straight in the eye, and that I wouldn't have had that if we were sitting around the board table. So thank you all for taking the time to be here, and we very much appreciate the opportunity to get this message out today.